Welcome to my first ever YouTube video, and what better place to start than the 2026 World Cup predictions. Let's get stuck in with Group A: Mexico, South Africa, South Korea and the Czech Republic. For me, I'm only looking at two teams to top the group here. It's either the hosts, well, co-hosts Mexico, or the Czech Republic. For me, I'm going to go with the Czech Republic purely because they are so reliable in tournament football. And I think with the likes of Souček and Schick, they're going to be fantastic from set pieces, which, as we know, is really crucial in tournament football. Then we're going to go with the hosts, Mexico. I mean, even if they weren't the hosts, their form coming into this World Cup is really good. And then it's South Africa or South Korea. And unfortunately for me, I just don't see where the quality of South Africa is really going to come from when you've got the likes of Hyung-Sung Min starting for South Korea. Group B: Canada, Bosnia, Qatar and Switzerland. For me, it is that latter. Switzerland are definitely going to top the group. I think they've got a lot of quality across the pitch and leadership, which is massively important. Don't let Roy Keane tell you differently in national team football. Then I think we're going to go with co-hosts again, Canada. I think although they do have that host advantage, I think it's going to be very tight between them and Bosnia, who I do think are going to get the 3 points for beating Qatar, and we'll look to see if they get through in those third place playoffs. But for me, it is going to be that Switzerland, co-hosts Canada, Bosnia and Qatar. I don't think many people are really going to contradict me there. Group C: Brazil, Morocco, Haiti and Scotland. I think it's fair to say Brazil are going to top this group. Ancelotti, after a kind of growing out period when he first took over as Brazil manager, they have finally hit their groove. Whether Neymar stars in this World Cup is anyone's guess. But I think the likes of Cunha, Thiago, the back two of Marquinhos and Gabriel, there's just so much quality. And even if necessarily the tactics aren't going to take them through, they're going to get through with quality, at least to those later rounds. Then it is between Morocco and Scotland. I'm sorry, my massive Haiti fans, but I do think you're going to come bottom. But you've lived the dream. You've got to a World Cup, so congratulations on that. For me, although the sort of opinion of Scotland's national team is probably the best it's been, you know, with the star power of Scott McTominay, I know for many people that is kind of baffling to hear, but I've been on that train for a while whilst he was at Man United. I was so pleased for him once he got that Ballon d'Or nomination, by the way, and of course that fantastic bicycle kick to send them to the World Cup. All props to my boy Scott, but unfortunately I just don't think Scotland are going to have enough to overcome the likes of Brazil or Morocco. But I'd be happily proven wrong. Now, Morocco are actually really interesting for me because I think they are definitely dark horses. They came fourth in 2022 and inadvertently won AFCON. Now, I don't think that squad is potentially as good as it was in 2022, but they've got so much quality in that team with the likes of Hakimi, Mazraoui, El Nassir up top, who is goals when it comes to international football. And I think they could just defend their way, very similarly to 2022, defend their way to the knockout rounds. On to Group D: United States of America, Paraguay, Australia and Turkey, who for many people are their dark horses. And I can see it, not just because of the wonder kid that is Arda Güler, but I also see that with superstar power like that in your forward lines, all you need is one break of the ball, one strike, top corner, and you're 1-0 up in a very difficult to score international football. So for me, Turkey are going to win the group. Then I do see the United States coming in with such kind of hype around them. And again, host nation, they're going to have the most amount of fans in those stadiums that I do think they're going to see themselves across the line. But I think it will be on 4 points. Battling it out for third will be Paraguay or Australia. And although Jackson Irvine, the captain of the Socceroos and my beloved St. Pauli, I just don't see where their goals are really going to come from. I think they're going to really work hard and it's going to be very tight, potentially getting 2 points, maybe with a draw against Paraguay and the US, but I just don't see where they're going to get those 3 points that are so crucial to get you through in those third place playoffs. So for me, Paraguay are in third and Australia, unfortunately, are going to be fourth. On to Group E then, we've got Germany, Curacao, Côte d'Ivoire and Ecuador. Now, those last two teams are super interesting. Côte d'Ivoire obviously just beat France in a friendly, which although you can't take too much away, it does show that they can battle with the best. And they've got such amazing talent. Doué, Ahmad, Franck Kessie, who by the way is less than 30 years old. It seems like he's been around forever. And they've just got a really good unit that has got so much talent and could surprise some teams that are taking them a little bit too easy. Then we've got Ecuador, who their defensive record is straight up unbelievable. They might not score a lot of goals, but in international football, most of the time, similar to Morocco a few years ago, it's just about staying into the games. And potentially Ecuador could do a Morocco and just draw their way to the final, winning on penalties. Then I am going to talk about Germany, because for some reason, no one seems to be talking about them. And not necessarily dark horses, because they are a big nation. They could definitely go far in this tournament. The likes of Undav scoring unbelievably well in the Bundesliga after sort of failing in the Premier League. He's red hot. You've got Havertz, who for Germany has got a very good scoring record. He's scored twice in Champions League finals, by the way, for someone who is deemed a lot of the time a flop. And then you've got some great players in there like Pavlovic, Schlotterbeck, Kimmich at the back. And interestingly, depending if he gets the minutes, Stiller. So I think the rest of the group is going to be as such. Germany in first. I think Ecuador, with that defensive record, will pip Côte d'Ivoire to that second spot. Côte d'Ivoire coming in third, and unfortunately Curacao will be coming fourth. Group F, Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. I think this is my first big shock. I'm going to go with Japan topping the group. Now, they have beaten some big teams in recent years, but I just see them being so solid and so technically gifted that they will outdo the Netherlands. Although the Netherlands are a big team traditionally and can often go far in their tournaments, or at least should, I'm never truly convinced about them. Yes, they were unlucky in the last World Cup against Argentina. Weghorst, my guy, I'm sorry that you got done dirty. But I'm just not convinced about Ronald Koeman at all. Sweden, I think, will come third then. Not necessarily because they're going to get any wins. I think they'll draw against Tunisia, and then I think they'll just come third by 1 point. On to Group G, we have Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. I think it's fair to say that Belgium are going to top this group, the sort of last legs of the golden generation, the likes of Lukaku and De Bruyne are probably having their last tournaments. But I really want to talk about the younger players such as Luke Bacchio, who I think is going to be one of those players similar to Stiller, who is just going to get a move off of a really good tournament. Potentially, he could win the Golden Boot because he could get a couple of goals in this group. We're looking at Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. I think they're all fairly similar in quality. I think New Zealand are probably a little bit off of it, kind of only looking at Chris Wood to really get them over the line. Similar with Egypt, you kind of have Marmoush and Salah, who, don't get me wrong, are absolutely elite players, but it's all about getting the ball to those players. I think Iran are actually going to come in second for me. Taremi is one of my favourite footballers to watch in sort of international footballer. I'm such a sucker for a big number 9 who's got a massive head and can just pop them in from crosses. And again, like I've said earlier, those crosses and those set pieces add up, and if you can capitalise on them, you will definitely reap your rewards. On to Group H now. We've got Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and particularly of interest, Uruguay. Now, I want to talk about Uruguay because I don't think they get out of this group. I don't think they finish bottom. I think that is where Saudi Arabia are going to come in. But for me, this Uruguay squad is just nowhere near where it should be. I mean, I'll ask you now, name me one Uruguay forward. They've got some good midfielders in Valverde and Ugarte, that's for sure, but I just don't see where that true quality is going to come, where you need to overcome the likes of Spain or Senegal and Austria, these teams that do have quality kind of across the pitch and in those forward areas. So Spain and Cape Verde are getting out of the group, but in what order? And although I would like to sit here and say Cape Verde are going to shock everyone and finish top of Group H, unfortunately it is going to be Spain. Cape Verde coming in second, Uruguay in third, and Saudi Arabia in fourth. Now, Cape Verde, I just do see them beating Saudi Arabia and getting those crucial 3 points like we've spoken about earlier. And I think a shock draw against Uruguay could see them coming second. Spain are going to top the group, and I know Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal are probably going to miss this first game. And even if they do come back, what kind of condition are they going to be in? I think that characteristic style of play that Spain have, controlling tempo and making the opposition run around and do their doggy runs over yourselves, is going to be so crucial because the weather is just so hot that I think some of these big teams from Europe just aren't going to handle it. Potentially in this group. France, Senegal, Iraq, Norway make up Group I. And yeah, France are going to top this group. Potentially their second team could top this group. Enough about them. Senegal and Norway are going to battle it out for second, and I'm not really sure where this kind of Norway fanfare is coming from. Yes, they've got Haaland and Odegaard and I guess Norgard, but I don't really like the rest of their team. In particular, that back line is definitely something that you could go at, and Odegaard has not been that mercurial for Arsenal. Yes, Haaland probably is going to get a bucket load of goals against Iraq, but whether they can replicate that in those further stages of the competition, and once again, in this heat, I don't think Norway are going to be able to play the way that they want to. Senegal, I think, will come third, not necessarily on their kind of star power, because to be honest, I think they're a bit lackluster. I think they've got so much quality and not necessarily got the right tactician at the helm to kind of push them further into the competition. Iraq, unfortunately, will be fourth. Group J, or shall I say Group A, Argentina, Algeria, Austria. Right, Jordan are coming in fourth. Argentina, I do think, are kind of a bit too good for this group. Algeria and Austria just aren't going to be able to compete class-wise. But Austria in particular, although they play really good football, I think they'll fall similarly to Norway, where the style of play that they have, I just don't see them replicating it in the heat. Although I say that, I just don't see Algeria beating Austria, even though I see Algeria beating Argentina. It's a bit of a merry-go-round in Group J, I must admit. So I think I'm happy with putting Argentina first, Austria second, Algeria in third, and Jordan in fourth. Group K is made up of Portugal, Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. First and second, I think it's pretty straightforward. Portugal going to top the group, and then Colombia in second. Then, I don't know really, they could both get a point for a draw. Whether Congo can find a goal against Uzbekistan, I think is going to determine whether they even get out of the group, but also whether they come third or fourth. So for me, Congo and then Uzbekistan. Nice and easy. On to the big one, Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Now, when these groups were announced, I was a bit fearful of this group. It looked like a potential banana skin, particularly with the quality that Ghana have in certain areas. And of course, Croatia and England don't have a great relationship in international knockout tournaments, but they're no longer as good as they used to be. Although I do think they'll come second behind England, I think it is going to be a bit of a close one between them and Ghana, potentially going down to goal difference. Unfortunately, for my massive Panama fans, you will be bottom. The best third place teams then move on into the knockout rounds. And for me, I think there's only one place up for grabs, because the likes of Korea, Egypt, Algeria, Bosnia, Cote d'Ivoire, Scotland, and Senegal all can get 3 points by playing that fourth place team that is kind of away from the rest of the pack in terms of quality. So it's Paraguay, Uruguay, Sweden, Ghana, and Congo all battling out for this one spot. And like I mentioned earlier, I think Uruguay are going to be the shock exit of the tournament. There's always one. And I think they're going to slip up against Saudi Arabia and only manage 1 point. The same goes for Sweden and Paraguay, where they're just going to end up with draws and losing their other 2 games. For me, it's between Congo and Ghana, whether Congo can beat Uzbekistan or Ghana can beat Panama. Now, Panama are just not to be slept on. I think they just have a little bit more about them than Uzbekistan, meaning Ghana might draw their game and Congo getting through with a only 1-0 win against Uzbekistan would be a fantastic story. This is where it starts to get tense. We're into the round of 32. Germany, Scotland to start it off. And unfortunately, my boy Scott McTominay just isn't going to be able to overcome the absolute machine that is Germany. France and Egypt, I think Salah and Marmoush just don't have enough around them to compete with France. Somehow I've ended up with the co-hosts, Mexico or Canada, to go into the round of 16. That is a really interesting tie, because depending on where it is, you could argue that if it is in Canada, they might have that host advantage with more fans and potentially overcome Mexico. But I'm not going to be saying that. Mexico, like I said earlier, is a very good team, regardless of them hosting the competition or not. So Mexico, I think, are going to beat Canada. And unfortunately for me, Japan versus Morocco have been drawn. My 2 dark horses, which is a shame to see one of them go out. And it is going to be a really tight game. Like I said, Japan have got a lot of control, really good technical ability, but don't have the goals in them. And Morocco are just so tight defensively and kind of too big for Japan. I know Japan overcame England in a friendly recently, but I think the Morocco strength and pace that they do have in the wide areas, I think are going to be a bit too much for Japan. Colombia and Croatia, 2 banana skins for any team, and I'm thankful to see one of them go out. For me, Croatia are going to be on the plane home. I think Colombia, they're just that little bit smarter, a little bit better with the fouls to break up the rhythm that Croatia might be trying to place down. Spain, Austria is going to be a really entertaining one for the neutral. I think we had it in the last Euros and it was a great tactical fight, but I think Spain just have that little bit more quality against Austria, and unfortunately, they're going to be on the plane home. Turkey and then Bosnia, that's an interesting tie-up as well. I do think Turkey just have that little bit more quality than Bosnia. Belgium and Korea, great to see Korea get out of the group stage, but unfortunately, I think they're not going to have enough against Belgium. Now for the first big game, Brazil versus the Netherlands. That is definitely one where the kids are going to have to miss school to stay up and watch. I think I'm going to give it to Brazil. They're in their sort of home continent. I just don't see Netherlands having that firepower to compare against the likes of Thiago, Cunha, Vinicius, and of course Neymar. This could be a big Neymar Jr. game where he comes off the bench, wraps one into the top corner, and Brazil go through. Stylistically, this is a great game. Norway versus Ecuador. If Haaland is on one, he could definitely wrap 2 or 3 into the Ecuador's net. But similarly, Ecuador could just pit them early, get a goal, and sit back in that shape that is so crucial for them. It's tournament football. Ecuador, I think, will edge this one out. Defense wins games when it comes to international football. Czech Republic versus Côte d'Ivoire. And although I do really like Côte d'Ivoire, and I've said that they are my dark horses, the Czech Republic are just so solid defensively and from set pieces. I think they'll have a little bit too much for them. England versus Congo. Thankfully, a good draw for England in their first knockout game. That could be a bit of a cricket score. The likes of Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, Saka getting on the goal sheet, giving the boys some confidence going into the next round. Argentina versus Cape Verde. Unfortunately, the Cinderella story ends there for them. Argentina will definitely go through. In another game, we have USA versus Iran, which is a delicate game in itself because of the political climate that we're currently in. I think Iran just have that little bit more quality over the US and they'll go through. Switzerland, Algeria is another interesting one for the neutral. I think Switzerland are just so destined for the round of 16 that they are kind of placeholders for that position. Portugal, Senegal is a potential banana skin for Ronaldo's boys, but I think they'll get it done. The likes of Bruno, Vitinha and Neves in that midfield just dictating things is going to be too much for the Senegalese. Into the round of 16, on one side we have Germany, France, Mexico, Morocco, Colombia, Spain, Turkey, Belgium. And on the other half we have Brazil, Ecuador, Czech Republic, England, Argentina, Iran and Switzerland, Portugal. We'll start with France, Germany as it is the biggest game of the lot. Now France are, as I've said, everyone's favourite and Germany are the unstoppable machine at the minute. It is going to be a really, really tight game. But for me, I'm going to go against the grain. I think the occasion might get to France with the sort of expectation that's on them. Mexico, Morocco, what a close game that is. I think I'm going to lean on that host advantage and Mexico are going to go through to the quarters to face Germany. Colombia or Spain, that is going to be an interesting one because Spain getting into their rhythm, dictating the tempo, and Colombia with those dark arts, can they manage to disrupt them? I don't think so. I think Spain will have a little bit too much for Colombia. Turkey, Belgium rounding off this side of the draw. That's a really fun game. That could easily be like a 3-2, 4-3, something really big. I'm just going to edge Belgium for it because, as I said, Luke Bacchio is going to have a really good tournament. Now onto the other side of the draw. Brazil, Ecuador. I think Brazil's head-to-head against Ecuador does just pit them ahead of them. But I could easily be wrong. That could be a 1-0 Ecuador job for sure. Czech Republic, England. Oh, the Euros game against them was not fun and it could be a potential banana skin. But the pure fact that this is another European team, I think might help England. I think the conditioning of England is just going to be a little bit better than those Czech players. So I'm going to have England go through for very, very tasty quarters. Argentina, Iran, I think simply too much for Iran to handle and Argentina will go through. Switzerland, Portugal, similarly, although I do like Switzerland, their team is very well structured and ran. I think Portugal are going to have a little bit too much for them. On to the quarterfinals, we have the return of Germany against host Mexico. Spain versus Belgium, the big one. Argentina versus Portugal. Wowee. Messi versus Ronaldo at last on the big stage. And then for England, they face Brazil. We'll start with Germany, Mexico. Now that is going to be a really tight one. That had 2-1 written all over it. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Mexico do it. Depending on where that is, the Mexican fans could just overrun that stadium and really push their team on. But I just think Germany, they're so unstoppable as of recent. I really like that team. The likes of Musiala and Undab, keep an eye on those two players. Spain, Belgium, that is an absolute classic. A couple of years ago, you'd probably say Belgium would have it, but Spain, ever since that Euros win, have just motored on. If Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams are back, expect Spain to dominate that game. The game of the GOATs, that's trademarked. Argentina versus Portugal. And similarly to when Argentina went on to win the World Cup for Messi, are Portugal going to rally round Ronaldo and do the same? I don't think so. I think that Portugal team are not necessarily individuals, but I think they're all a bit more team-oriented than the Messi team of 2022, where I think they were all quite fine with just trying to lift up Messi to get that World Cup gold. Ronaldo and Messi going band for band in the quarterfinals for the last time ever. I think Messi is going to pip it. I think Argentina are just a little bit better at disrupting play. They'll take the yellows, they'll slow the game down. Bruno, Vitinha, Neves just aren't going to be able to get on the ball as much. Very similar to how we saw Arsenal in the Champions League, really just trying to, little fouls, disrupting that tempo. And I think Argentina are going to advance to the semis. Brazil versus England. I think this is as big as it gets for England fans. Historically, the best team to do it in the World Cup versus a team that have only ever won it once. Can we get it to twice? I don't know. England have tools to hurt them. We know this. The likes of Gordon and Rashford on the break is going to be so crucial. That midfield of Anderson and Declan Rice, combative, is really crucial as well. But I think overall quality, that Brazil back line is just so good. I think, and it pains me to say it, I think Brazil are just going to have a little bit too much against England. It's going to be tight though. Again, a 1-0 kind of victory for Brazil, I think. And unfortunately, England fans were out at the quarters. On to the semi-finals, we have Copa America, Brazil versus Argentina, and the Europeans, Germany versus Spain. We'll start with Germany-Spain, and stylistically, a fantastic game. This is going to be a really midfield-centric game, battling it out in the midfield. Who can set the tempo first? It's going to be a rough one, but if Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal can make it fit to this stage of the competition, I think Spain will have Germany, but I'm not sure that they will. Whether they come into the competition early or later, I just don't know what condition they're actually going to be in, and potentially they could re-injure purely on the basis of that rush to get them back. So I'm going to go with Germany in the final. Brazil versus Argentina on the other side. Messi going back to back. Not many teams have ever done that. Not many players have ever done that. But Brazil, they've got this backing. They've just beaten England. They've got that momentum. No, I'm going to go with Argentina in the final. I think they're just going to beat Brazil. It's going to be a fantastic game, potentially penalties for that one. Germany-Argentina, a 2014 repeat. This was, of course, with a primed Messi. Not necessarily over the hill, but definitely not as good as he was against the Germany side that are just motoring through the competition at the minute. It's a tough one to call, but we've spoken about that tempo setting, and I think Germany overcoming Spain is going to be such a boost for them. Tactically, I think Germany also have the edge over Argentina. So somehow, against all odds, I didn't have this down originally written, but Germany are my 2026 World Cup winners. Let me know yours in the comments below. And whilst you're at it, it'd be great if you could drop a subscribe and a like on the video. It really helped me out considering I've just finished university, and with all of that time and effort spent on my degree, I've decided to be unemployed and a YouTuber. Catch you later.